What is a revolution? The Russians tried it.
Imperial Russia dies as Tsar Nicholas abdicates in March. His future, Soviet bullets and an unmarked grave.
So did the Iranians.
There were celebrations in the streets of Tehran.
We have kicked out the Shah, he said, but the revolution is not over.
And not so long ago, we witnessed revolutions ourselves.
Gaddafi and his family, they must leave away.
This is the Egyptian democracy, not his hypocrisy.
Revolutions are nothing new. They are historical facts of life. Like it or not, we as a species have a spirit of revolution in our hearts. And there is no sign that we have come to the end of the revolutionary experience. Science, technology, and industry have all seen revolutions in previous centuries. The old dogma is thrown out and replaced with newer, more accurate theories. This is done as a matter of necessity, whether the struggle for a new system occurs on the battlefield or in the mind.
There have been people that have brought a spiritual message, they've given it to their people, whether it be at the time of the Greek philosophers, which you can kind of postulate that there must have been some form of guidance there as well. Whether it's Buddha, whether it's Krishna, whether it's Adam, Abraham, all of those societies were just lifted by these teachings of peace, of kindness, of love, of forgiveness, and also of seeking of wisdom and seeking of truth and knowledge and rationality, which led to a kind of a growth of those societies.
If we take a look through the annals of history, we have seen the rise and fall of many civilizations. One such civilization, which has etched its name forever into the history books, is the Roman Empire. As rulers, the Romans brought their political institutions, their laws, their culture, their roads, their currency, and their language to the people they governed, thus making an indelible mark on the whole of Western culture and society. So much so that the modern world of today is largely shaped by the legacy left by the Roman Empire.
I think that there's so many great blessings which we have, but on the other hand, we have this in terms of material growth as well. The GDP has risen so much, and prosperity, financial and material, has really gone up. But then we have huge problems in our societies as well, where you've got very high levels in some places, very high levels of obesity, very high levels of crime, teenage pregnancy, alcoholism, drug addiction, huge inequality and disparity between that wealth. So we've had great growth, but we haven't been able to distribute it properly. So then you have all of the problems which come from that.
Today, Western culture, known primarily for its relentless consumerism, now dominates throughout the world. We have everything we need. But all this consumerism, is it healthy?
This is criminality, pure and simple. I feel huge sympathy for the families who've suffered, innocent people who've been burned out of their houses, and to businesses who've seen their premises smashed, their products looted, and their livelihoods potentially ruined.
It's like a pressure cooker, and it's waiting to explode.
This is nothing.
So we would be foolish to kind of complain about the developments we've had, but there seems to be a vacuum or a void in our society where we are struggling to reap the benefits of this growth and to know what to do with it.
Every day you see on the TV trainers being advertised. £120 trainer. You know what that's like for a parent like me to have to try and buy for my son? People say, well, why does he have the £120 trainer? Well, if you shove it in his face on the TV and you tell him that it's the best thing to have and it's the top of the grade, then why should he want it?
But to me, it seems like there is a real crisis in the West on this deep level about why are we here, what do we do with our time here, what's the purpose of this existence. And without answering those deeper questions, then you have real problems which come. And just to talk on a personal level, you have teenage boys that do not know really how they should live, what values they should hold, what they should do when they interact with their friends, what sort of role they should play in that group. Should they play a role of humility and modesty and compassion and kindness? Or should they play a role of acting the fool, happy slapping somebody, stabbing somebody?
Revolution means a total and absolute change, and the desire to build a new structure in place of an old one. It is only logical that the new structure is built upon the premise of the old one, but independently of it. Rome wasn't built in a day, and it certainly wasn't built on the remains of another civilization. We are in need of another revolution.
This area of the world was the cradle, or probably was a fountain of spiritual enlightenment, but not just spiritual, scientific enlightenment. The growth of medicine, the growth of science, the growth of mathematics, the growth of philosophy. These things had absolutely flourished in this place, from this absolute, not just a physical desert, but also an intellectual desert and a moral desert. There was this oasis which came, but just spread and cascaded out. And the strange thing is that what we see now, when we think of Islam now, we think of something very terrifying. We sometimes think of something which is lacking that intellectual development. But if we look at the true Islam that came at that time, then it literally brought the brightest possible intellectual light and energy to those people that led to this great change. And this was the teaching of Islam, which was brought by the Holy Prophet of Islam. May the peace and blessing of God be upon him.
And we sent not the messengers, but as bearers of glad tidings and as warners. So those who believe and reform themselves, on them shall come no fear, nor shall they grieve. This quote from the Holy Quran shows that religious progress is dependent on revolution and reform. When God sends down a messenger to the world, he comes because man has lost his way and has started to act in ways which are completely unnatural and immoral.
Life in itself should not just be a process of evolution, not just a process of gradual change, always looking to progress, but really you should bring about that change and that progress on such a rapid and such a fundamentally intrinsic level that you transform yourself and your environment and the lives of your own life and the lives of your loved ones to a point that it is dramatically different to how it was when you were at a different stage in your life. So to bring about real deep change for yourself and for those around you.
After the advent of the promised Messiah, peace be on him, what is the religious revolution that must now occur? It is a return to Islam, a move from selfishness to sacrifice, consumerism to caliphate, from immorality to morality. The promised Messiah, peace be on him, set in motion the wheels of the revolution, and it is our task to continue to drive forward this revolution of peace, love, and absolute justice.
I already know that inside of everybody's heart, we all have this voice which whispers to us, love your parents, give to the man on the street, don't bully, don't abuse that person, the weaker people in our society. Have self-respect and respect others around you and have compassion and be peaceful. And the most pleasing thing, I think, for all of us is if we are true to that voice. And I would say to be true to that voice is to be true to yourself, it's to be true to God, and it's to be true to one another. And I would say that is the path of spirituality. And in Arabic, that is translated as Islam. But really, that word is really based on truth to yourself.
This revolution does not require the shedding of blood, but the changing of mindsets and ideas, and perfect obedience to Khilafat.
अगर हमें अपने जायज़े लेते हुए ये बात नज़र ना आए कि हमारा आज हमारे गुज़रे हुए कल से बेहतर है रूहानी हालत में, तो फिर हमारे लिए लम्हा फ़िक्रिया है। हज़रत मसीह मौऊद अलैहिस्सलाम फरमाते हैं कि ईमान सिर्फ़ इसी का नाम नहीं कि ज़ुबान से कलमा पढ़ लिया, ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह मुहम्मद रसूलुल्लाह। ईमान एक नहायत बारीक और गहरा राज है और एक ऐसे यकीन का नाम है जिससे जज्बात नफसानियाँ इंसान से दूर हो जावें और एक गुनाहसूज हालत इंसान के अंदर पैदा हो जावे, यानी गुनाहों को जलाने वाली हालत पैदा हो जाए। अशहदु अल्ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाहु वहदहु।
This is the religious revolution which is now upon us. Not a revolution of the sword, but of the heart. An overhaul of the corrupt system, and in its place a message of peace, modesty, humility, and sacrifice. This is the real revolution.
abduhu wa rasuluhu